how do we regain the rights to our data? Rights that have apparently been taken from right under our feet are being moved around, quite often without our knowledge or even our consent. Well, our next speaker is someone who's been thinking a lot about this issue. He is the VP of Operations at SingularityNET, which is a non-profit that was established and founded just over a year ago. He himself is based in Washington, D.C., but the structure of this non-profit is completely decentralized. In fact, I believe 95% of its employees work remotely. It's an open source of AI algorithms, giving developers from all over the world access to their database. The aim to try to democratize AI by allowing developers to contribute to the AI code. Our next speaker is going to make it all very easy to understand and digest. He's going to break it down to us, for us. In fact, I shared a cab ride from Zurich Airport with him, and through his passion and his dedication to IT, to really understanding it and communicating it, I think you'll see that he will make it all very, very easy to understand. And before we know it, we'll all be talking in AI codes and algorithms. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Privileged to be here. I thought I'd start off with this haunting image that I came across almost 10 to 12 years ago when I was studying philosophy at the Frankfurt School. Now, this is Thomas Hobbes's Leviathan. And the Leviathan is a sovereign king that represents the will of its people. What's interesting is when you start zooming in a little bit, you'll realize that the Leviathan's body armor is actually made up of individual people, right? And it's the individual people who sign a social contract to be part of a larger state or a larger system. Today, I want to make a case that the Leviathans are not necessarily the political states, but the new and emerging tech companies. And it's going to be a very big impact for all of us if we don't understand the source of their power. So I'm going to look at the source of their power, what we can do about it, and how we can actually engage in a meaningful way so that we create a benevolent society. Now, if you look at all of the companies that are presently monopolizing your data without necessarily giving you access to your rights, these are the Enlightenment philosophers, the intellectual inheritance that we have inherited from Hobbes, Rousseau, and Locke. And they were a critical pillar in defining social contract theory, which is I must consent to be part of a system that makes decisions for me. And today's social contract theory is unfortunately in the rubbish bin of history. And why have we lost this? I just want a quick show of hands. How many of you actually read the terms of service whenever you sign up for a technology platform that is ubiquitous? Just a quick show of hands, every piece. I see one or two hands. OK, usually this is quite difficult because it's so overwhelming and it's filled with legalese. It's almost impossible to confront this system. And it's designed deliberately that way because if you look at some of the tech companies today, the amount of productivity that they're getting is almost 9 times some of the largest companies that ever existed. So to create that same billion-dollar revenue, they need 9 times less employees. And the source of power, why this is the case, is principally because your data has been taken away from you. You are a data battery. You're a data factory. You're generating data on a daily basis that you have little to no agency over. You're giving it up without your consent, or at least you think it is consent. So the Leviathans of today are not necessarily the political states, but they are the data Leviathans that control and move large economies by their sheer numbers and volumes. And the reason this happened was because of the data explosion after the internet. But it would be simplistic to just say that it's the data explosion. The truth is a little bit more nuanced. This is a feature called infinite scroll. Infinite scroll was designed to keep you hooked and addicted to your news feeds. So you forgot to sign up for a key panel at the World Wide Forum, or you were there when your loved one was saying, I love you, but you were just not present in the moment. Infinite scroll, and if you look at the small red buttons, you'll realize universally across all applications, these red sort of triggers at superscripts are always there. So there's a new visual language designed to trigger what I call your dopamine system, and this is your dopamine dope design that is designed to create addictive hooks so that you never ever leave the newsfeed. Now I want to provoke a question here. Why is it so difficult for companies to build a question in the beginning, which is, how long do you want to spend in your feed session? How much time do you want to take? What type of content would you like? Because it's the agency in the micro moments. It is when we become aware of our free will in those moments that we can actually switch off. And it doesn't tie in with their business models at all, because being in feed means more clicks. More clicks means more revenues. And there's a big, big impact here. So I live in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Singapore. And about 2 years ago, I think, I was walking down the streets. And in Singapore, you don't hear gunshots, right, because there are no guns. But in Washington, D.C., or generally in America, as I've learned to adjust to the different climate, I was walking down the street of Van Ness Avenue, and there's a place called Comet Pizza. Comet Pizza is a normal pizza parlor. But there was a man here, 29 years of age, who believed that there was a pedophile ring being run out of Comet Pizza by Hillary Clinton supporters. And large amounts of his feed activity were driven by existing social networks. So all he did was stayed on those platforms, and those platforms became a heavy form of content for him. And they lured him in over and over again. And this was the beginning of the fake news era, where we had to confront what it means to distribute content in a way, as long as you're hooked to it, I continue to distribute it to you. So I have a simple framework. From now on, all of you must look at every single technology platform out there that you're using and try and look at it from 3 layers. Data, the first fundamental underlying layer. The data is powered by the design that has the sole purpose of capturing as much value from you as possible without you fully having agency over it, okay? The second layer is the black box, the algorithms that drive the data, that machine. But the third layer is where I think the biggest fractures have happened, and that is the layer of meaning. What are the stories that are being created out there? So data, algorithms, meaning. What are you left with? The present business model is we try and give you as much clicks as possible, and we try and create stories around those clicks so that you can drive revenue to your business, and we'll post supernormal profits for Wall Street. But that's been unsustainable and has broken society. Is there a hook here where we can try and get out of the dope design cycle, the data capture cycle, the algorithm cycle? Because we are stuck in this infinite loop that has perpetuated itself around society. Is there an alternative? So about a year ago, I had the opportunity to be part of to meet members of the founding team at SingularityNET, which is a decentralized AI app store, basically a platform where you can go online and purchase algorithms. What's really interesting about this is because we built it on blockchain technology, this was the moment when we launched our token sale. So if you look at the center, that's the moment when we raised $36 million in about 60 seconds, all distributed to people all around the world who believed in the value of our mission and vision and wanted to take part in something that was very different to create an alternative future. So we have a native token. We have a cryptocurrency. Blockchain has allowed us to create a cryptocurrency which you can use to access algorithms on our platform. And it's all open sourced. You can have a look at the algorithms. You can decide which ones would resonate for you. Now, what surprised me as a marketeer, but also as a leader of about 25 people across the organization, all decentralized and remote, as Geeta said, is the growth that we experienced. And a lot of people, as much as I've heard the criticism about blockchain and tokens, they don't necessarily understand that the growth that you can have by incentivizing the right behaviors creates viral loops in the community. So we were able to reach so many people once we understood how to actually use token economics. And this is on the leading edge of how to build your brand, how to elevate your story using the existing blockchain technology. Now, the other use that we have, a more well-known use case is Sophia. A lot of her applications are developed presently by our team and in close partnership with our friends at Hanson Robotics. The beta is scheduled to go live, and you can check out all of the code open source on GitHub. We have a GitHub repository that will allow you to access and understand a little bit more. So what's a good application? What can you do with this, right? So this is one of our partners, Hara. And what Hara did was very, very interesting. They understood that blockchain was a leapfrog technology, right? They understood that you don't necessarily need a full infrastructure layer. What they wanted to do was incentivize data collection for farmers. So they want to collect data from farmers and give them a token that would allow them to participate in the data economy. And whenever that data moved around, the farmers would get compensated. A little bit revolutionary because you're looking at the base of the pyramid. We partnered with them to understand that data set, but also to build algorithms for farmers so that they could increase their crop yield. They could understand some of the crop disease detection algorithms that we had and applied them. Not that they would apply it directly, but Hara's field agents in a hybrid manner would educate them. And then the meaning that we were going after, and we are going to go after, is to create a net positive impact for society. That means every time we take a farmer's data, that farmer is going to get compensated. And so I want to end on this image because there's nothing much to fear about the Leviathan. It's not necessarily a scary image. But what is more difficult for me to reconcile today is when I hear someone like Steve Bannon and Robert Reich agreeing, both radical right and on the radical left, agreeing that the large tech companies need to be broken up. I don't necessarily agree with that because they want a data commons, and I can understand the reason for that. I think, however, blockchain technology can provide a technological solution to that problem. And as a technologist myself, I believe that this is the wave of the future. At the end of the day, it must come back down for the West and for our civilization to the individual, because the individual has and will always be the source of enlightenment. The systems that we have designed today take the individual out of the equation, and we cannot lose that heritage. Thank you very much.
Very powerful and enlightening talk. Thank you very much,
Thank
Arif.
you. Yeah.
Arif, so what can we do to prevent, to build too much bias into the algorithms? If I understood you correctly, with the AI algorithms, they're much more powerful than the ones that are out there right now.
Yeah.
So the impact they have will be stronger.
Yeah.
So how do we prevent from building in bias?
Yeah, I think, human beings, we carry our biases in our language. It's already encoded, right? And this morning we had an interesting meditation workshop where the idea and aim was, can you become aware of what biases you already have on a day-to-day basis? Because you can carry around your biases on a day-to-day basis without affecting too many people. But the moment you program those biases into a machine, you can create asymmetrical impact in the wrong direction. And the unintended consequences of those we've seen. So I think first, it must come back to the individual to understand what are the existing biases we have. Like if you think about it, during my presentation, a lot of the philosophers were men, right? And this was during the period of enlightenment. As I'm trying to go through their histories, I could not find social contract theorists who were women. But I was searching Wikipedia. And Wikipedia has been criticized for having biased algorithms that don't necessarily show the history and diversity of thought. So just in this presentation alone, you can see that.
So
deliberately done. Sorry, just.
So in the times of artificial intelligence, emotional intelligence gets more important, you would say?
Yeah, I think emotional intelligence, but also understanding the core difference between what actually makes us human. And a large part of that, as you say, is emotional intelligence and relating. But it's also the fact that we need a confrontation to happen with us, with our society. The confrontation is happening from regulators to large tech companies, but I believe the confrontation should happen at the individual level.
I want to end with a question on how can we reclaim the rights of our own data?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do we have to do?
Yeah. I think the first start is just to educate yourself, like look at some of the terms and services and realize the sleight of hand, the magic tricks that have been pulled on you, the whale, right? So that's the first layer, just educating yourself. Second layer is try and look at technologies. Blockchain is an experimental technology. Data marketplaces are going to be a large part of that technology stack. So it's an interesting time to start exploring these, but the challenge will be how do we make sure that the individual still remains at the center? Because the systems we have designed somehow have been designed to take the individual out. And that, for me, is untenable.
I have a final question. Now having an expert like you on stage, what do you think about the EU's approach of the GDPR?
OK.
Short answer.
No, I think it's done a lot to educate people about the necessary frameworks that are needed to participate. In other countries, when I ask people about data rights, not many people really understand that yet. I've found that in Europe, there is a conversation. And because of that, I think it's a positive, although there are other contentious issues as well.
Yes, some flaws may be built in, but it's a good conversation start.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Great.
Thanks so much, Ole.
Thank you, Arif.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.